Hi, everyone. Let's get started. So, welcome to 2 clicks away from getting your Microsoft 365 security right. Very happy to have everybody here. It seems it's going to be a very popular webinar. Um, I have to admit, I am responsible for coming up for this title, which is very pretentious and maybe exaggerated a little bit. I got a lot of resistance from the marketing team about it. It is factually accurate, I believe, and we'll get into that in just a minute. Um, Glad you could join us. I'm joined today by my co-host, Henry Chang. Hi, Henry.
Hey, Guillaume, for whatever reason, my name is Sherweb Webinars, according to the the video title here. But yes, my name is Henry. Good to be here with you all. Thank you for joining us. Really excited to actually show what we've been up to for the last, rather, Guillaume's been up to. Uh, Team's been working really hard.
That's right. So
I'm just a
we're
marketing
today
guy. I do
today
nothing.
to talk about Microsoft 365 security. We'll do that in a few different ways. We'll try to give you some very practical information. It's not a technical webinar by any means. It's really about how to make it simpler. The first thing we'll do is we'll give you a little bit of background about Microsoft 365 security and how it's being attacked currently. Not so much to scare anybody, but just to give you a sort of a always help drive consciousness. I think it's much better when you know what you're up against, and it makes it much easier to share with your customers uh, what's going on right now. I think everybody's looking for a more practical explanation on security rather than saying nation states are out to get you and things like that. I'd much rather talk about some of the specifics of what we're seeing day to day in the security community, and also give you some advice on how to deal with it. Uh, then we'll talk a little bit about how that makes it challenging for MSP partners to deal with security of Microsoft 365. And then obviously we'll spend a little bit of time to talk about the solution that we're here to propose, which is Office Protect Alliance. Um, a couple of housekeeping items before I go too far, which I tend to go pretty fast. This webinar is being recorded. If you have to leave at any point, you will get the recording usually 24 to 48 hours after the event has taken place. We send you a link to it. If you have any questions, there is a box for it in the software itself. So please do ask any question you may have. We'll either answer it right away or keep that to the end. In both cases, I love questions, um, especially in something like security, which is definitely debatable. There are many ways to achieve
Sorry.
security or some level of security, and there is definitely a debate on what level of security should be attained and everything. I very much welcome your input as part of the discussion. Also of note, there's an handout in the software as well. You can see it as the Office Protect product sheet that was updated with information about Alliance. If you don't want to hear me talk and Henry talk for half an hour, you can just cheat and go right ahead and look at the product sheet. Hopefully, we'll keep your attention with some of the horrible stuff that's going on with the attacks on Microsoft 365. Um, Specifically, I'm sure everybody's kind of curious about the defeating MFA. Go ahead, Henry.
Sorry, before we go too much further, I just want to make sure, can everyone hear Guillaume speak? Because on my end, Guillaume's signal is cutting in and out a little bit. I just want to take this opportunity before we get much further in,
I
make
think
sure
it's
everyone
on
can hear.
your end, Henry, sadly.
I see. Okay, that's fine. We're good.
But I mean, if people are having trouble hearing me, please do let me know. Put it into the comment section or ask a question that's an answer. Can everybody hear us correctly? But from my end, it all looks good. All
Excellent.
right,
Okay, just wanted to make
going.
sure.
So here's the loaded question. Yeah, so one comment said it's on your end, Henry. So sorry. The internet has
Okay.
not gotten to Montreal yet, it seems. Although I'm out in the sticks comparatively, and my internet connection is pretty good. Thank you, fiber to the home. I very much love you. All right, so we're getting a few comments that everything's fine. Good. So what should you know about Microsoft 365 security is a very loaded question. Like a lot of people that are here, I'm assuming are what I would call enlightened, meaning they're aware of security. And if like when people saw this subject, they're like, oh, that's interesting. It's probably because they care about security, so they may not be in this category. But a lot of people that we talk to are still under the assumption, and it may be your customer, it may be you, it varies. And I don't want to be condescending. Security is such a sort of a hard topic. We try to make it simpler, but it's never all that easy, and people are in different places, and that's fine. But a lot of people assume Microsoft is responsible for the security of Microsoft 365, and that's a bit of a loaded question because they are, but at the same time, you're still responsible for your own security. It's a combination. You'll get better security being on Microsoft 365 than not, but then there's a bunch of things to do. So the first thing I want to make sure everybody considers the business end of it, business aspect. We'll try to focus on business aspects today. Um, and there's stats here, and basically what they say is most businesses are on Microsoft 365 today, and if they're not, they're going to be. So 1 million are already on it. I think it's like that was a year and a half ago that Microsoft announced their million customer for Microsoft 365. So it's only increasing. 61% of small businesses are on it. I think the ratio for small businesses is even higher, and it's definitely going higher and higher. Um, and Teams in this day and age is an interesting one. It didn't exist, what, 2 years ago,
Yeah,
pretty
in that neck
much?
of the woods. In that neck of the
Yeah.
woods.
Um, and now it's 150 million daily users. Daily users. So that's kind of crazy. So I think it's a fair assumption that most people are on Microsoft 365. Um,
And
it
just
has the
to
most users and the most market share.
just to add to that just a little bit there, right? Because just Teams itself, it's pretty instructive because 115 million daily users was basically roughly near the end of last year, where they were roughly 6 months prior to that, they were just around 70 million. So that was a giant spike just in the span of just about 5 6 months because
Yeah,
of the work at home. So it's just if we just use that as a reference, it's we can kind of
yeah.
guess that it's growing for sure.
I
But
would assume it's nothing new to our listeners that are partners because I guarantee you they've been dealing with people working from home and Teams and all that.
no, for sure. But that's it. So these are just stats, right? And
Yeah.
they're statistics. It's just what's for me like the thing I always wonder about this is just what's what does this actually mean for our partners? This, as you say, our partners know this. If they don't know it exactly, they already have the sense of it. But what do we take away from this then?
That's a good question. I am personally not a huge fan of counting stats like that because they don't impact the individual very much.
Mm,
I know it's our presentation and we put them in, so I could have not put them in. I think they're okay. Uh, what I normally say about Microsoft 365 and small medium businesses is you should consider it as well mission critical. But the reason you should consider it as mission critical, it's because it's the ERP of most small medium businesses. Like they don't have a big Salesforce implementation. They definitely don't have SAP. Even the smaller SAP like SAP One or Anna, um, they like how many business do you know that are like how many of your customers their business is driven by Outlook and Excel? Like how many people like realistically that's their ERP? That I think that's a more concrete way to think about how critical Microsoft 365 has gone to the day to day of most businesses. And the reason that you think about sort of that criticality is simply because that's what's going to make it the most targeted platform. Um, Again, some statistics here. Most attack platform, most spoof brands. So in the phishing emails, it's now the most popular one to use is Microsoft, and it is obviously target of nation state attacks and things like that. The
yeah, it's
idea, go ahead, Henry.
Yeah, it's just like which always makes me wonder, right? Like I read stuff like this, and I'm always reading stuff like this, and the first thing always comes to mind is just why does this happen? Or it's like just what drives cyber criminals here, right? It's just like it's on one hand you have a lot of promotion of Microsoft's security features and so on, but on the other hand you're met with this, and just I find there's a bit of a disconnect here, and just wondering why that
So
might be.
is this a veiled way to ask if Microsoft unsafe or insecure or not secure enough?
You said it. I didn't say it. I like our friends at Microsoft.
Well, so there you're okay, you're safe because no, Microsoft 365 is very secure. It is exceptionally secure. It provides tools that are super advanced to do that security. Um, people, some, I think that's less and less, but some people still believe like, oh, I'll stay on premise because everybody's attacking the cloud and everything like that. On a case by case basis, it is factually completely incorrect, and you will get much stronger, much better security in most cases by being on Microsoft 365. That has been proven over and over again. Um, the reason that it is such a target is that it's victim of its success. I think we all know today, in this day and age, attackers, it's a business. Like, that's the reason they attack platform, is because there's money to be made. And if I'm going to invest time in attacking and figuring out an exploit or some way to get into a system, I want to get into the system that's going to make me the most money possible. It's that simple. And like, what am I going to break into? Linux? Like, Linux users are still 2-3% of desktop users. Like, I'm going to break into Windows. I'm going to break into Microsoft 365. I'm going to break into WordPress. I'm going to break into SQL Server if I can. Um, Simply because that's the most profitable stuff that I can do. I'm going to break into government if I can get it. Uh, but really, like, if I'm going to like spend, like, attackers invest money basically in finding holes. They want to find holes that are profitable, and that's Microsoft 365 today. It is such a ubiquitous platform. Everybody's on it. Your business data is on it. The stuff you don't want, like the value of your company, is on Microsoft 365, and that's why they're targeted. I think Microsoft, since the what is it called, the Bill Gates security memo that he sent in 1990 something, which I was around for, sadly, or anyway, shockingly. Uh, they've
You're
been good
still
with
a
security.
chicken.
Like you're when you're the number one in so many markets, you're gonna find security holes in your product. Like, it happens. But I think they've been very well focused. I think they update quickly. Like, they've been good with all that. We've seen it with the Exchange issue that they had. It's a bad problem, I have to admit. It's a very legacy product, but it's a very bad problem. But they fixed it quickly. They communicated well. The patching was done. Sherweb was patched within 24 hours of it being announced. Things like that. So it, I wouldn't fault Microsoft for their security. I think they're much better than average. I just think they're a victim of their success.
Okay, fair. I
Okay,
feel offense on the part of my friends who use Linux, though, I must say.
no, it's great. It's terrific. And honestly, it's a little bit of security through obscurity, meaning people just don't do a lot of exploits for it. Um, and that's great. Take advantage of it. I like Linux. I use Linux.
Mm,
It's just not that popular as a
yeah,
desktop.
fair, very fair.
Okay, so let's get into the practicals of it a little bit more. Anato- Anatomy. Uh,
Anatomy.
Anatomy. Yeah, my
Yes.
sometimes my French sneaks in. Of common attacks. All right, gonna go quickly on this one. Everybody's heard of phishing, right? Like, if nobody, like, what's phishing? I'll go very quickly. So basically, I send you an email that asks you to do something under some false pretense. The result of it is, instead of getting what you're expecting, I'm getting your credentials, files, hacking your computer, installing something, whatever. Um, Here's some very specific examples that we've seen recently, either through our research or literally have gotten. It varies, but I think in this case that was research. Next couple of ones are from my own collection. Um, as you can see, this is basically a request from your technical team to reset your MFA settings. Uh, Bad. Not like, if you do it, then you've just given your information to somebody else and they'll use that to get into your Microsoft 365 account. These are also pretty common. These are, I think, literally from my collection, right? Are those the
It,
ones?
it's it's a it's a mix of your
Yeah, it's mixed, right?
collection. Yeah.
Um, so Netflix, Google Chrome, like, again, the most popular platforms will be targeted by stuff like that. And basically, again, always the same thing. They're asking you to take action. There, there is a research from an IST. I like an IST. Sometimes a little verbose, but Julia very accurate. They did research on phishing, and I don't have the link in this, but ask us and we'll provide the link, or you can find it. But it was very interesting research about what makes a phishing campaign efficient, like what makes it good. And they identified like all the criterias and the things like is it aligned, and basically what they measure is the alignment of the campaign to your situation. The more aligned it is to you, the more likely you are to click something you shouldn't. And when I say you, I mean one of the employee that you have to manage, one of the clients that you have, um, some non-technical people. Like it's still the most efficient way to hack into Microsoft 365 is just to steal credentials.
It's you know what I've been doing lately because of all the phishing. I've actually, for example, the when I receive emails that actually look like really official, I've gotten so paranoid I just don't respond to them, and I've actually just taken to when every time I receive an email, for example, for Netflix or uh, even if it's real, I end up just contacting the service department to see if it's a real
Yeah.
message. It's this seems I think I found a workaround, such as were, but is this really the best use of time? it
So I don't think we have a slide to specifically say how to deal with phishing. I didn't want to spend too much time on it because it's a
mm,
very common topic, but I'm happy to share that. Basically, the best practices are a little bit annoying, and that's always the battle for security. It's convenience versus security, and security can't win, meaning that you can't get full security because otherwise nobody's getting anything done. That's the premise that everybody has to understand when they're trying to implement security to their client, is that if it's not convenient, they'll find a way around it and they won't use it. Like security, sadly, has to be uh, um, a servant of the business goals of the company. You have to start with the business aspect that you have to reach, because if security prevents you from reaching those goals, then it's useless. It won't work. Here's general like telltale signs of a phishing email. Uh, I think they're pretty good. You'll have access to the presentation, recording,
yep.
and all of them. They're there. I don't want to go through all of them, but that's pretty telling of phishing. I just want to say the real workaround, or the real prevention of phishing, is to verify any requests. So you get
Mm,
an email from your bank that says do this. You look at the number on your card or from their website that you know is good. You call them and you verify that they really need you to do this. If you think it's legit. If you don't think it's legit, then you're done. Same thing. Even a coworker asks you to do something. You contact them by another mean, like Teams, for example,
Teams.
and you verify. I've
Well,
done that.
yep.
I have told people I will not open your attachment, and it's tricky. It's not a good way to, like, it's not a friendly way to do business. But I think people will, as we move on and awareness gets better, people will respect the fact that you tell them, like, for security concern, I cannot open this file that you've sent me. um like, let's share it some other way, let's do something else.
Mm.
Okay. If you have questions about phishing, by all means put them in. Well, I'm happy to answer them to the best of my knowledge. Did you have anything on phishing, Henry?
No, that was it. It's like the just wondering if I were on the right path. It sounds like I am. It takes a lot of time, I gotta say, but
Yeah. Well, I think people will get better. Like the stuff that they send you and everything people will be smarter about it. All right, let's talk about two of my favorite current ones: password spraying, credential stuffing. Two different things, completely very similar sort of objective, which is to break into your Microsoft 365 account. Password spraying. So the classic attack on accounts was brute forcing, which used to be pretty good. Now it's the worst. Basically, you take an account that you know exists. So I think your Henry account, that Sherweb, and then I try every possible password to get into it until I get it. It was detected pretty quickly because you see repeated attempt against the same account and it gets blocked nowadays. I hope so. I hope you're using systems that block it. Microsoft 365 will block it for sure. So they've switched to a different approach called password spraying. So basically, what they'll do is they'll take a whole bunch of accounts and then they'll try the most common passwords against all of them. So it's sort of the reverse. Instead of using a lot of passwords, you use a lot of accounts and only a few passwords. Um, and then you'll go, well, people don't use the same password. They use long, hard to guess password. No, they don't. They really don't. And the thing with password spraying is you don't need to break into every account. You just need to break into a few accounts. So the person that uses spring 2021 exclamation point as their password, they'll get broken into. I hope nobody went, oh crap, he knows my password. Uh, Stuff like the local sports team, very bad. The year, very bad. The season, very bad. Um, did we put some example of what they use? Yeah, that's it. So um,
Good
let's
there.
come back
Yeah,
to that in a second. But so if you use that, you can go very low and slow, they call it. So basically, very few attacks, like you spread them out. You can even use a whole bunch of tenants. So I'll go after numerous tenants. It'll be basically impossible to detect. I will use multiple IPs, like proxies and things like that, and go after a bunch of accounts. And I'll try 2, 3 passwords, and then I'll switch to another account. 2, 3 passwords. I'll switch to another tenant. 2, 3 passwords. It is very efficient as long as you have a good password list. Um, some of the better systems now will prevent you from selecting a bad password, and I don't mean like not enough characters or special characters or things like that. I mean like if you type one that's common and has been broken into many times, for example, they'll say, "Yeah, I can't pick that password. You have to pick another one." It's also a good idea to check. Uh, if you look at Have I Been Pwned, which is an interesting website, we should have put the link to that. They also have a password checker, which is kind of interesting. Uh, Major targets for that are healthcare, things like that. This depresses me that attackers are focusing on like vaccine stuff. I'll skip it. It's true, but I'll skip it
okay.
because we're going to run out of time quickly.
Yeah.
So basically, the things that you definitely don't want in your password combination, these are good examples. No cities, no states, no sports team, no famous athletes, no superheroes, no seasons. Avoid important years and keyboard pattern like QWERTY or 1Q, 2W, 3E. Did I guess your password now? I hope
I'm
not.
I'm sad to say I was guilty of using all of these when I was younger. And I thought
Oh,
it was
yeah, me
super
too,
clever.
for sure. Like, which one did I have? I had cities for sure. I had keyboard patterns. I had sports team. Yeah. So, yeah, very bad at first. Like, with that, you live, you learn. And password spray wasn't a very common thing anyway. It is now. You can see on the right, I pulled from a list, a public list of the most common password. I don't know where it was gone from because I hope that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is not accepted anywhere anymore as a password.
As of last year, from what I recall,
Yeah,
as of
yeah.
last
Oh,
year
that
it was
was from last
still
year, but I don't know which system they pulled to do this.
it was NHS, I think, for that they had
God,
something like
I
two
hope
mil.
not.
It goes into millions of users who actually had that
Yeah.
password.
But you can see there was interesting ones on that list. Definitely some I wasn't expecting. It's a good idea to have a look at that list. Avoid it. You can use it in training. I'm not going to talk a lot about training today, but like what you're doing today is training. Like it's awareness. It's a good idea to do with your clients, to your customer. You can use. We have the Quick Help platform for that at Sherweb. There's other means you could do it without spending any money, just investing a little bit of time as well. It's definitely a good idea. Sending those examples, saying, "Hey, don't use those things for your password." The more they know, right? You'll never get perfect security. You'll never get perfect training. Just keep at it. Like, don't assume that they know or give up on telling them. Like, both those things would be bad. Credential stuffing is a different one. I've seen it more. Like I've seen this used more than password spraying recently in our logs. Uh, so basically, the difference is instead of getting accounts and then trying to sort of guess the password, you get full login and passwords from broken, like stolen databases, stolen accounts, like accounts that are already to be known. And what you do is you use that list on another system. So I'll give you a very specific example that I saw being used against our partners, our partners' clients, thanks to Office Protect. Basically, we were getting a lot of alerts for the same thing, and we were kind of curious, so we looked into it. And what we realized is there was a site that sold stolen accounts called Sitio Day, Sito Day, basically, which basically means 0 day. Which 0 day attack is an unknown attack that's not patched. So it was a service. Like I said, hacking is a service. So it was a service where you could buy accounts. So from what we can tell, like as far as we can tell, they had broken into a whole bunch of uh, web services, not Microsoft 365 at all, but other. So everybody now asks you to sign in to their sites, right? I have a Yamaha motorcycle, I have a Yamaha account, and Yamaha's pretty good. I'm sure their security is okay, but then everybody, like the florist on the corner, as your what was it this week? I was buying something trivial, I think at a pharmacy, and they asked me for my email address. And I was like, no, no, thank you. You don't need my email address. I do that now because, well, it's mostly a spam concern more than a security concern. But so you have 50 accounts everywhere. I have to tell you, if you don't realize it, you already have 50 accounts everywhere. And some of those sites have very bad security. If they have good security today, they'll have bad security in a month, like new exploit holes, they don't update, whatever. So basically, they had 23,000 databases with 13 billion records in it. Uh, and they sold them. And it was expensive and everything, so not everybody had them. But basically, what happened is the American authorities closed them down, which is great. It's a good thing. But what happens then is what usually happens is when they get close, they take all their information and make it public. They make it available. So what happened is that particular database started showing up on torrents and hackers forum, and not like super well hidden dark web hacker forums. They're just like plain accessible to everybody hacker forum. I did Google search and I found the database. Like I'm that good of a hacker that I could use Google. I had to translate from Russian, but that's it. Like that was how hard it was to get that database for research. Didn't use it for anything. Uh, but basically, in that database, there was basically 225 million pairs of email and password. And I don't mean encrypted password, I mean plain text password. So basically, the attack that we were seeing is they took those logins from all over the internet and tried them on Microsoft 365. Why not? Are you going to tell me that you maybe not? I'm going to go your users. You're going to tell me your users don't use the same account passwords in many places? So if you've given them password managers and everything like that, then maybe not. And that's good. But most likely when they sign up to that Yamaha account, they'll use the same password as when they sign up to Microsoft 365, and you'll never know because you don't have control over that. So if I get that account, that login and password, I try it on Microsoft 365. It's going to work. And here's the scary part. There was 225 million accounts. What if 1% of 1% works? Like, is that realistic? Do you think out of 225 million, I'm going to find that 100 of 100 is going to work? That seems very realistic. I'm assuming it's going to be a lot higher than that. But let's say it is. How many accounts does that give me? Like, how many accounts have I just broken into if that's the rate of success? My math sucks, but I think it's 2,000. It's going to be 2,200 and something. That's a lot of accounts that you've just broken into. Like that's probably like 2,000 different tenants that you now have some kind of foothold into. And nobody has done anything wrong. All they've done is sign up for that extended warranty or for that forum they wanted to participate in. And now they've broken into your account. Like that's very bad. You can check passwords and things like that. You can check Have I Been Pwned and other services. We're working on adding a service like that to Office Protect, so stay tuned. Uh, but that's a tough one. That's difficult. The main answer is avoid password reuse. That's training. Not much you can do there. Use a password manager for sure to help them, and then turn on conditional access. As a partner, like that's conditional access is still the most efficient way to prevent abuse. Absolutely easy. It's the cheapest. It's the best. Use it. It's not the most convenient. People hate it still, but I think they're sort of giving up on it and they go, yeah, all right, I have to put in, like, I have to check my phone and put in that second number or click that link or whatever. So that's good. People are getting there, but use it. It. Did you have any question on all this, Henry? Anything you want to bring forward?
No, no, I'm so quietly absorbing all of this about password spraying and credential
Well,
stuffing.
then I have a terrific segue. I just told you to turn on MFA. It's the best thing ever. My last one is defeating MFA, which if you're gonna start squirming in your seat a little bit and go uncomfortable, this is probably it. So there are three ways to defeat MFA. Some are very technically, well, that's very is a very relative term. So some are technically challenging, like it's not trivial, and some are trivial. How trivial, you say? So the classic one, the one that made the authorities sort of not recommend using your SMS as a second factor, is SIM swapping. So basically, you hijack somebody's phone. It could be what could be as stupid as stealing somebody's phone, but I didn't even put that there. But that's definitely a way. But more common and a little bit more detached is you sort of register your. I'm an attacker. I basically register myself as you on the cellular network. And now when I do MFA, instead of you getting the information, I get the information. So that was a pretty common one, common enough that most people have moved away from SMS for two-factor. Of course, if you can hijack a phone, maybe you can hijack the authenticator app. Sorry. Uh, it's the reason, for example, that at Sherweb, we now have biometric validation on the authenticator app. So it's not just to have it, it's to still have your fingerprints. So that makes it a lot safer. But it's a way, it's doable. The second one, session hijacking, is the one that I've seen much more now. And I'm not talking about cell phone, I'm talking about web session hijacking. So basically, I'm sure you've all seen fake Microsoft login sites. So you like they send you a phishing email, ask you to log in, you put in your information, and turns out it wasn't Microsoft, it was their own site, and they've just stolen your credentials. Traditionally, you've been okay because you have two-factor authentication and they didn't steal your two-factor. And even if they did, it's only valid for a few seconds. That's sort of been defeated. So now what they'll do is what's called a man in the middle attack. So literally, they'll put themselves in the middle of the conversation. So you still get a phishing email, you still get a link to a fake URL, but they make it really good. And then it loads the actual Microsoft login page. Actual content, actual behavior. It's not a copy. They just forward it to you. So they're in the middle. Microsoft's over here. They're over there. They forward it to you. And then they'll look at the traffic as it goes by. So you'll put in login and password. They'll capture that. Send it to Microsoft. Microsoft will send the MFA challenge. It'll say, hey, you need MFA. You'll do it on your phone. You put in the code, sends it back. They send it back. They don't even steal that. They could steal just that code and they'll have access to your account for a few seconds. Or they can do it very quickly and have access. But that's not what they do. What they'll do is they'll wait for Microsoft to answer and say, here's your token to access Microsoft 365 portal. Because as you know, as you're browsing through the portal and everything, it's not asking you over and over again for MFA or even for a login or password. So how does that work? Well, basically there's a session and that session has a cookie or a token, and that token is valid for a time. So that's what they'll steal. And once they have that, they have a session, so they have access. And then from there, until a session is invalid, they have access to your account. And sessions are usually good for a pretty long while, so it's not a rush or anything. It's good practice to terminate your sessions when you're done with the portal and everything. But by that time, if they're active, like if so basically their man in the middle attack will warn them that you just did the login and then they have access. So either they'll automate the action that they want to take or they'll go quickly. So that one's pretty scary. I don't have very good remediation for you. Microsoft's certainly working on it. Like there's browser security and things like that. The idea is not to get phished on that one, which I don't think is good advice. Like don't get phished is not good security advice. But that's still pretty much the truth. And the last one is actually the most common one, and maybe the scariest one, is misconfiguration. So, misconfigured security is the absolute most common way that people get hacked. Is they think they're configured a certain way, but they're not. I'll give you a very specific example with the MFA from Microsoft. It's not on or off. It's on or it's off. it's enabled or it's enforced. And the question is, what's enabled? So enforced is you have no choice, but you have to do the MFA, and that's the setting you want. Off is off, very clear. But enable basically means it will ask you to do MFA, but it will also give you a link that says, hey, I don't want to do that now. I don't want to set it up now. So there is a door there. If you just put it to enable for your clients and think job's done, well, the door is still ajar. Like once they set it up and everything, it means they'll have to go through MFA. But if they haven't set it up, and most people will avoid that as long as they can, it means the door is still ajar, and that's very dangerous. So misconfigured security definitely a concern. So Office Protect, one of the things that we'll do is to help you have best practice security setting. But the other thing it will do is make sure that all of your customers are on the same security settings. And that I didn't think of that when I created the software. I have to say with the team and everything, like when I designed the software. Uh, but it seemed to be one of the most appreciated aspect to say, I have 50 clients, I have 100 clients. This is how I know they're all configured in a specific way without having to go and check every time each and every one of them. When I make a change with Office Protect, I can make it on everybody, and it's like the standards remain the same. So that's pretty important. Okay, moving on because we're running out of time. Actually, moving on quickly because we're running out of time. I want to talk about Office Protect Alliance a little bit. I get excited when I'm talking about all the security issues. Not of Microsoft specifically, like any security challenge, I find very, very exciting. So, having said that, it means you need to monitor and you need to be on top of things. What the challenge there? Well, not talking specifically about Office Protect, I think it's true of every security system. You get false positives, you get too many alerts, you stop looking at it. And it's very hard not to get false positive. Actually, it's very easy. Like no alerts at all will result in no false positive, but it's not realistic. Like it's not going to happen. So basically, you need to have alerts. Some of them will be for benign situation. And the problem is if you don't have a team that's invested in it and automation and all that, very quickly you get burnt out and then you don't look at it. If you get somebody to look at it all the time and they get the same alerts over and over, and then you get a lot of churn, it's very hard to hire security people. So what we see with Office Protect sometimes, with other system, with Office Protect, we focused very hard recently on reducing those false positive, and we were showing great improvement. But still, even with that, like what we're seeing is people have it, they configure it, they configure the best practice through setting, so that's good. But then the monitoring gets half done, and a half done monitoring is very, very dangerous. Generally, what happens is they'll know that there's a security issue when their clients tell them, and that you don't want to be in that situation. So everything put together, user must be better trained. I think that's a given. I think we know, but still, like I'm a technical person. Like I like features and buttons and devices, boxes, like black boxes that say security on it. Uh, but at the end of the day, the better return you'll get is on probably on training. You need to be 24/7 on suspicious activity for sure. If you, what we've seen is our attackers are attacking Friday night generally, Saturday morning, Friday night, holidays like Easter is coming up. Definitely, it's going to be more attacks like at the beginning of that weekend because that they know that if they break in on Friday night, they probably have all weekend to do whatever they want to do. And then what we've heard from partners, it says you have, like this is sort of assuming things, but we've talked to a lot of partners and the challenges that have come up the most, limited bandwidth, the cost, the skill shortage, sort of puts everything together. You have to focus on core things, and doing monitoring just sort of doesn't make the cut most of the time. And that's definitely a challenge.
A little bit
So
unfortunate.
yeah, it is very unfortunate, but I can't be. A lot of security company will tell you like, oh, you can't not use our product. Like it makes no sense. You're dangerous and irresponsible. No, I understand. I
Hmm.
understand. Limited amount of time, limited amount of budget. You have to make choices, and generally, from what I've seen, our partners make very good choices uh, on a practical basis. Like you do what you have to do, and I understand that. Our job, Sherweb, is to provide you with tools that fit that reality rather to than changing your mindset. Um, as your clients evolve, will we see more security? Will they spend more readily on it? I think so. but we have to do something today. So what we did 2 years ago was Office Protect, which is good software. It's a good place to start. The feedback we've gotten is we want you to manage the alerts. Here it is, Office Protect Alliance. Literally, that's what it is. So basically, as always with Sherweb, what we're trying to do is to give you enterprise grade stuff, but accessible. So instead of having to pay for a $20 set, a $20,000 setup fee, and then a 3-year contract for your security, it's the same as every other product at Sherweb. Is you just go into Cumulus, one click, and then you have it. And you have us monitoring. I'll talk about it in just a second. So, well, actually, I'll talk about that right now. 24/7 monitoring, detection. Basically, like the simplest way to put it is it's Office Protect. So we monitor your Microsoft 365, but instead of you monitoring it, getting the alerts, having to deal with it, coming to conclusion, and taking action, we get the alert. We get the analysis. We do the analysis. We have experts. Like if we're not experts at Microsoft 365, there is something fundamentally wrong. We have millions of seats. We have thousands and thousands of support calls for it. Like we've been dealing with it a lot. That is our specialty. Cloud services are our specialty, specifically Microsoft 365 are our specialty. So we monitor it. Our team looks at it, a dedicated team. Like we have people that are specifically trained for this. We have automation and systems and everything. I'll show you in just a second. We'll do the analysis, like look at the IP address, look at the other action taken by that same user, look at context, like what time is it, what kind of action, what type of user, and then we'll come to a conclusion if we can, and then we'll send you the information, send you a path to action that you should take, the type of attack that it is, generally what those people are looking for. Let's make it clear, it is not managed security. We're not taking over the security of your customers. There is so many things to do with security. This is just Microsoft 365 dealing with the alerts. You get to remain your client's security point man, and you get the hero worship of fixing those things and intervening quickly and everything. We will do the legwork. We will do the 24/7. So it's a 24/7 human powered, like it's not like just automated emails or anything like that. Like somebody will look at that alert at 3 a.m. on a Saturday. They'll make a decision and they'll send you that decision. If we need more information, we'll send you all the research, all the curated data, and then we'll ask you the question that you need to answer. Obviously, if we only have view on Microsoft 365, we don't have view on everything, and you'll still need to do that work. The goal for it's to be simple to use. So if we go back to the top 2 clicks to getting Microsoft 365 security right, what we meant is once it's generally available, you will go to Cumulus, you will click Office Protect Alliance, purchase, and then you'll have us monitoring your security. We'll also send you our analysis of your current configuration. We'll talk to you about it. We'll establish a baseline, and our security monitoring will be even better. But the minute that you click it and Office Protect is set up, we're monitoring the alerts right away. So that's the idea, and that's the value that we provide is you can do this yourself, to be clear. You could buy Office Protect and staff a 24/7 security operations center and then do this yourself. But we're betting that that's not realistic for most of our partners, and that's not what they desire. That's not the value that they provide to their customer. What they provide to their customer is being close to them, understanding their business, taking concrete action, proposing strategic plans. We'll do the boring stuff, and we'll do it in a cost efficient way because of scale. The reason that we can do it is we're big enough to start that team, hire the people, buy the licenses for the system, have a SOC, and sort of spread out the cost across thousands and thousands of clients, which makes it affordable for everybody.
It's like you're anticipating the questions, because I just got 2 questions simultaneously, same second, asking about costs. One about how much it's going to cost. Is it cost per license, or is it cost per seat or per org? So would this be a good time to get into that, or should we wait until the end?
I'm happy to get into it now, briefly.
Fair. Mhm.
So, well, actually, I'm going to come back at the end. So we're still in our early adopters phase. We have partners on it, but we're slowly bringing people in. we want to make sure that we have the bandwidth to. So the first thing we have to do is make sure we give good service, everybody's well treated, and the alerts are treated quickly. So we're adding people, making sure our bandwidth is okay, everything's okay, and we're treating everybody correctly. And then we'll add more people. We have more demand than we have capacity right now, which is a great problem to have. So people, let me get to that process to get into Office Protect Alliance now, and I'll get into pricing at the same time.
Okay.
So I've already sort of basically talked about this, but that's the process. So we'll do initial security assessment on your Microsoft 365, make some recommendations. Most of the settings are optional, meaning if your clients or you don't want to go with our recommendations, you don't have to be able to use Alliance. There may be some deal breakers, like if you go, no, I want everybody to be able to log in without a password, probably won't want to be your MDR, managed detection and response provider, if you go that way. But after that, once we've sort of put that in place, we'll monitor, we'll do the analysis, we'll respond, we'll do the reporting, which I'll show you in a second. If there's an issue, which should reduce the number of time you get contacted by, I don't know, 100-fold, you're notified with all the information. You own the intervention, and you own the contact with your client. Like, we're not here to sort of introduce ourselves to that relationship. Every time I talk about that, I get the reverse question: will you be able to talk to the customer if that's what I want? If that's what you want, yes. If you give us a contact at your customer and that's the person you want us to escalate to, we will. A couple of things. Two very important things. Very important thing. We will take some action even as well. It's not just reporting. The one action that we've identified that we will take with your consent is suspending an account. So we'll give you some parameters, like if it's at night and your risk is at maximum, then you can suspend the account, and then we will suspend the account and let you know. So when we communicate with you, we'll say, here's our research, here's the action we've taken, we suspended this account, and then here's what we recommend you, which direction we recommend you go. So the one action, and it's a very major one when it comes to Microsoft 365, is suspending the account, because the idea with the service is sort of speed of response. Like, in theory, we're going to find these faster than you would have had. Well, if we don't do anything with it, it can become kind of a bit of a problem. So based on criteria that are established first, and you have to sort of sign a waiver. It's not a waiver, but you have to agree that we will suspend account, and it could be a mistake to suspend the account. Like, it shouldn't be. It will be well documented. We'll have clear parameters, but we will suspend account if you want us to. The other thing I wanted to mention is, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, the parameters. So as we onboard your customer, like I said, we'll start right away with sort of default parameters, like default monitoring. But we'll give you the opportunity to tell us about the company. We'll ask you a series of questions, all semi-automated, and you'll give us information like the time zone they're in, the countries they're in, things like that. And we'll be able to do a much better job monitoring it. It's optional. We can get started without it. But if you want to have the full value of Office Protect Alliance, you'll take advantage of that. So time is flying. I want to go to some question. Let me show you. What I'm going to show you is mostly the tool that we'll use. You shouldn't see this a lot, but I think people would find interesting. And one of the reasons that I show it is it's using C2 Atom. So you may or may not know, Sherweb recently, in the last 6 months, I think,
Last 6
purchased
months,
a
yeah.
company called C2 Enterprise, and they make a ITSM software called C2 Atoms. ITSM is IT service management. So we used it and build on top of it. It doesn't come out of the box as an MDR system, but we sort of build on top of it now that we own it, and we'll be using it as our MDR platform for now. Here's an example of our list of tickets that we have to address. You can see this is more, I use our testing account, so some of the stuff doesn't make sense, but just to give you a sense. And then when we get into an event, for the people that use Office Protect, you can see we've ingested an alert, and then we've broken it down into information. This is all sort of automated. Like, we take the IP from the alert, put it into the system. Whoops, sorry. And then we do the analysis, and then you can see the investigation messages that have been written. Like, this event was not raised from Microsoft IP address. It has a medium IP reputation. No other events were raised, but same, et cetera, et cetera. So all that stuff gets put into the ticket and documented. And then when we communicate with you, you have all that information already researched, all ready to go. And then we use those flowcharts. So with C2 Atom, you can build automation and uh, Mantronic stuff, I like to say. So there can be automated steps that are done through this, and then some of the steps are manual, and our agents will do it, and forks and things like that, and then come to a conclusion. Our goal is to be very, very standardized. We want you to get very the same quality of service. Like the clarity is very important. So we're going to go off of best practices, very, very well defined. And it's not like customer service where they're trying to help you. Like this is very specific. There's an alert. Here are the things to check. Here are the things to document. Here's a conclusion we can take. Failing that, we have an assigned to the project, very senior security analysts that have 20 years experience, and they'll take the weird cases. As you know, anybody that's done security, sometimes it gets weird. That's where it gets interesting, and we have people for that as well. And then we have dashboard for reporting. This is just an example. As you can see, Guillaume's dashboard, very specifically my dashboard. Number of tickets per day, when they're closed, number that are open, the severity. We're still working on that, and you'll be able to customize your own as well. Obviously, we'll provide some that are ready-made, but yeah. So I've blasted through a little bit all this. I wanted to make sure I gave you some practical information on the security of Microsoft 365, more than just pitching the service that we'll be doing. But I hope that we can sort of work together on the security of your Microsoft 365 tenant. That is the whole point. We want to make it accessible. We want to make it useful. The response we've gotten so far is great. I'm kind of impatient to add everybody that has asked to get onto Office Protect Alliance, but I understand that we don't want to swamp the system because then you get a bad experience, and that's like no way. We're not going to do that. Henry, have you spotted any questions that?
Oh, I've got a few. So I'm going to speed round this because I want to respect everybody's time. Like so I guess I say respect people's time. This is more Guillaume. Speed round, go. Okay, I'll ask you a question, answer in one sentence or less if possible.
Yeah.
Okay, not one sentence or less. That's zero. So as quickly as possible. So about the service itself, the first one is always about the cost. So we should probably
Oh yeah.
revisit that.
All right. Sorry about that. Let's go back to cost.
Mm.
So the idea is you can get on board today. You just have to sort of submit your name. We'll put you in the queue and we'll get to you. We're sort of picking the people that fit the best with the service that we can offer. Like if you, I don't know, if you have an ITAR compliant client, like maybe they're not the first one that we want to get on board. ITAR being a U.S. military compliance. But it's going well. Like we're adding all kinds of people, and feedback's been very positive. So we'll get to everybody. The price the price today that we've established for this, it's subject to change, but I don't expect it to change very much. So Office Protect is $1 per user. So we've kept the same model for Office Protect Alliance. So it's based on a per user in the tenant. You cannot uh, you cannot only protect some user in the tenant. It makes no sense. It has to be the whole tenant. And basically what we do is we'll look at the user list, and if they have a license assigned, then we count them. So we count the number of people that have a Microsoft 365 license, and that's where the price is based. And the price for Alliance is an extra $2 on the $1 of Office Protect. So all in, including all the software license and everything, is $3 per user per month, which is very competitive in the security market. Um, it is very much your partner discount will be applied to that $3. So that's before your partner discount. So if you're a 15% partner, it's a lot closer to it's less than $250 per user per month. So that's the pricing. It
Okay.
includes everything. There is no tier. Like if you want us to take action, it's more expensive, and if you don't, it's cheaper. Like it's everything that I've described today is part of that offering. You still get access to Office Protect, by the way. So you can go set your own settings and things like that. Like if you can go see the alerts and everything, it doesn't preclude you from anything. You just get our team looking at your alerts on top of that and taking action as necessary. That
And a
was more than
follow
a
up.
sentence, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's fine. It encapsulated a few questions here. But a good follow-up question right now is a couple of you have asked where they can, join the early adopter program. It's like if is the number we have on screen, is that the place for them to go, or is there something a bit more specific?
Well, so if they don't know who their partner representative are, or if they're not partners yet of Sherweb, then this is great. Use this.
Hmm.
If you know who your partner account representative is, and I hope that most of you do, talk to
Hmm.
them. I think it'll be a lot easier.
Okay.
Uh, if you don't know anybody at Sherweb, you feel lonely and you want to talk to me directly, that's fine too. My email is not a secret. I didn't put it there because it's not a good way to manage it. Like it's better if the partner rep is involved and they sort of make sure they track where this is going and everything. But my email address at Sherweb is the first letter of my first name and Boisvert, so G Boisvert, um, at sherweb.com. Uh, but yeah, the best way is through your partner account representative. If you don't know who that is, then those generic address and phone number will do the trick.
Okay.
And if you feel you can't get to anybody and you're being poorly served, definitely like tell me directly. We'll fix it. It's when I don't think that's going to happen very much.
Okay. Next, this is a pretty important question. Somebody asked is the support that they receive in under Offspring Alliance is it if it's via phone or email?
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that. Good point. Good. We have a good crowd. I like it. It's both. So we this is proactive, meaning like this isn't the same as reaching us. You can reach us by email and by phone, but that I think that's kind of a given. We will reach to you by email and by phone depending on the type of situation. If it's nothing, then we won't reach out to you. We'll document it. It will be in the system. You don't get any trouble, like you don't get bothered. If it's a question, if it's not like or anything, we'll go by what was established, which means generally we'll send an email for sure. But if you want us to reach out by phone as well, let's say typical circumstances would be for an alert outside business hour, I want you to call this number. Then we'll do that. So it's both phone and email. And
Cool.
what you saw C2, you would have access to that as well. So the actual information and everything wouldn't be all sent through an email because that's absolutely not secure enough. Like no way we're going to send all that security information in an email. That would be a very bad idea. So basically what we'll send you is a link to the platform and then you'll access the platform.
Okay. A
And
few
the
more.
account to the platform is included in the price as well, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. So a few more. I'm going just to give you a few more of the more pressing questions, and then if anyone who wants to hear their question, please just wait a couple more minutes. We have a lot of questions today.
Good.
Yeah. So let's see here. They want to know. Somebody wanted to know if there's going to be a technical white paper about what's going to be monitored of Microsoft 365 with Authors Protect Alliance.
Yeah, yeah. That already sort of exists because it's Office Protect. So what we monitor for Office Protect is fairly well documented. If you haven't found it or just it's not something you've looked into so far, just let your partner rep know and they'll be able to provide that for sure. And the idea is we'll take that those alerts as source and then we'll go further in the investigation. What we do as far as investigation will also be documented. I am a firm believer in transparency when it comes to any security product. The value of our product is not that we know things and we're not telling you. That's not it. Like we're not doing like rocket science here. What we're doing is we're doing it well, we're doing it consistently, and then we're doing it at a cost that is makes sense to you. So we'll share everything. I've shared a lot today. We're going to share more than that. Everything will be available and very transparent.
Okay. Does the client's tenant account need to be on Sherweb to use Office Protect?
So that's a good question. No, not to use Office Protect. Um, we're still having discussion as far as using the Office Protect Alliance, the managed service, if it needs to be on Sherweb. It shouldn't. Like so far, we haven't had any roadblocks that would force it. It's still there's a little bit of discussion, but no. Let's go with no for now.
Okay. Let's see here. Moving along. They want to know, somebody wants to know if alerts generated from, are the alerts being generated from Office Protect itself or the actual 365 tenancy?
That's a good question. They would be generated from Office Protect, but Office Protect generates its alert based off of the logs and alerts of Microsoft 365. So I guess the answer is from Office Protect, but we don't invent that stuff. Like it's our analysis of the logs and of the alerts from Microsoft 365 that generates those alerts.
Okay. Somebody asked if Office Protect Alliance would replace Microsoft Defender or Advanced Threat Protection.
It's a good question. No, it would not. Those two products that were named are additional layers of security, meaning like they cover other things. We're looking, and Office Tech Alliance is really the management of alerts for the platform itself. We are looking to add support in our product for Defender, and it's not called ATP anymore. It's called Defender for Office 360. Yeah, for Office 365. No, not blaming the person that got the name wrong, because they've changed them a lot, but so we're looking to add support for that in a managed sense as well. So stay tuned. That's on the roadmap.
Okay. More coming. Does this service require that customers purchase their Microsoft 365 service via Sherweb, or can they be
Yeah,
direct?
you
They has to
just
be.
asked me that.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a long list of
So
questions.
no,
Excuse me.
no, they don't.
Okay, excuse me. Very long list of questions here. Let's see here. These. Uh,
So I see a
so
question: will SureWeb offer basic security awareness training that would include teaching end user to identify phishing in emails? So we have that already. It's in Quick Help. We are looking to expand that catalog of training, and we're looking at other security training products as well. So for sure, it is there now, and it will be more present in the near future.
I can give a bit of a sneak preview on that. Next month in April, we're going. No, don't.
Uh,
Okay, I'll stop.
we're past time already. So
Uh,
stay tuned.
just to
Henry's gonna
say
have stuff
yes.
for you very soon.
Yeah, look out for April. It's coming. I promise you all that. Let's see here. A couple more questions. Somebody asked if this is say I think you have to provision this in a minimum of 10 seats as with Office Protect Alliance. That is.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? Cut off a little bit.
Sorry. The question is, I would assume that this is has the same minimum of 10 seats as Office Protect.
So Office Tech doesn't have a minimum of 10 seats. What we do is if well, I don't want to get into too fancy, but you pay for $10 minimum if you don't have Microsoft 365 with us. If you have Microsoft 365 with us, you can just add the add-on, and there is no minimum, but there is never a minimum number of user. You can have any amount of user, and we'll do the service for sure.
Yeah. If I sign up for Office Protect and Office Protect Alliance at the same time, do I need to configure anything?
No. You'll be asked questions basically to help us do our job. You don't need to change anything.
Okay. This question looks like it could be long, so but I'll ask it anyway, and we might have to send a response afterwards. Can you please restate your fit with customers who need ITAR compliance?
Yeah. All right. Well, I won't get into the specific of ITAR requirements because they're pretty involved. We know them pretty good because we have hosting clients that are ITAR, like we're ITAR compliant for our hosting clients, like in Performance Cloud. But what I said basically is we won't take the people that have the more fancy requirements to get started on Office Protect Alliance. We're onboarding people. We may avoid that a little bit until we feel we're ready and have everything documented and everything, because generally compliance means a lot of documentation and proof of different things, and we may not have everything there just yet. That's what I was saying. Eventually we'll be one of our clear stated objective is to be a product that is well designed for compliance, including HIPAA, PCI DSS, ISO 271, things like that.
Okay. So we're already 5 minutes over time. So the balance of the questions, we'll get back to everybody after this webinar. I think
Yeah.
that's a fair way to go about it. So I'd like to thank everybody for your time and patience and attention for today. You will get this recording in about 48 hours. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to Guillaume, reach out to myself. We are very happy to take your questions, and we're very happy to see your interest in Office Protect Alliance.
I mentioned it a few times chuckling, but if you don't know your account representative, do get to know them. They can do things for you. Like there is Sherweb is literally killing itself trying to provide value to our partners. Like that's what we're here for. Like it's not Microsoft 365, Microsoft 365. We understand that we do so much more. So get a good relationship with your account rep, and they can help you with stuff like Office Protect and everything. Um, so there is a yeah, all right. So there's a number of questions. We'll get back to everybody. I want to answer everything. Somebody's asking about a price. $3 for Office Protect Alliance, $1 for just Office Protect Core, which is just the software. Office Protect Alliance includes the software and the service. So it's $3 per user. That's it per month.
Well, if you're going to answer
Uh,
questions, here's one more big one then. Is there a way to have one login as an MSP admin and manage multiple tenants? If yes, how do we get started with that?
yeah, yeah. Office Protect is already multi-tenant to a certain extent. If you have multiple clients, tenants that are in Office Protect with Sherweb in your partner account, they're all accessible through the same. Like you don't have to log in multiple times. When you're in there, you can switch between them, and you can apply settings to multiple at the same time.
Okay.
Same for Alliance. You'll have access to all your customers under the same portal. You can see the alerts or the open cases for all of them. Single login, no problem.
Okay. Uh, do we call it a day here, or are we just keep answering questions?
I I'm ready for lunch, but I these questions are fun.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, somebody
any
asked.
upcoming solution to the alerts of
Yep.
admins viewing others' emails? So I think they mean we had an issue with false positives there. I think that's what they
Yep.
mean because we already
I think.
have something for that. Like there's an alert in Office Protect if an admin is looking at other people's email. Um, it was triggering a little too aggressively. Yes, there is a solution coming
Okay. Somebody
shortly.
asked how often they should advise their clients to change their passwords.
Aha, that's a good question. Never. So modern recommendation on parse password is long, easy to remember. So no crazy uh, you have to have three different special characters and question like long is more important than fancy. So long will get you that security. And the other thing that they recommend now is don't reset it unless there's a reason to think it's been compromised. Because password that change all the time lead to very bad behavior from users. And you're better off just having a really good one and not changing it until it's needed. And then the last part of that, and people go, oh, that's two-factor authentication. So if you have long, memorable password that don't change and two-factor authentication, that is I'm sorry, the common recommendation today.
Hmm. Would you open a link to a Microsoft 365 document rather than an attached document?
So if it's a legit one, maybe, but that's always the question, right? I have received phishing specifically faking to be a SharePoint shared document link. So not like the answer is not, and as with most thing with security and most thing in IT, the answer is it depends. It depends if it's legit, and then you're like, well, obviously, if it's legit, you'll open it. Well, yes, and that's the whole question: is how do you know it's legit? Certainly, product like Defender for Microsoft 365, they have safe links, technology proof points, same thing that we're selling. It helps. They can do sandboxing on links, so they'll trigger attachments and things like that. It's not 100%, but it will make it safer. So if you're unsure or if your clients are particularly click happy, it's definitely what I would look into, one of those products. Uh, but yeah, I open OneDrive documents all the time. So far, so good. But I am
That's good.
careful with it. I do look twice and what it is and everything. I have to say I'm less suspicious of those than I am of attachments. But why? Good question. Good question. Probably shouldn't. Maybe because they're newer. Like I haven't seen as many exploits on those that I've seen on attachment. But that's bad. Like that's I've said it. I'm not perfect for security either. So that's probably where one places where I could improve.
Mm, mm. There's a
I
couple.
wonder if the people that are left are just not paying attention, like we're in the background somewhere, or if this is
Um,
genuinely interesting for people. I hope I'm
uh,
going to assume it's interesting, or
well,
they like your face, Henry. Maybe it's that
it's the
boyish
pandemic
charm.
haircut.
Maybe it's the haircut. Maybe it's my pandemic haircut that's really sort of working out. Okay, where do we submit?
Basically, I just see a couple more questions about conditional access. It's like,
Sure.
is
Yeah.
conditional access the same as MFA?
No, absolutely not.
Did,
So MFA is included with the Office 365, Microsoft 365. People are still listening. That's good. So
nice.
everybody that has Microsoft 365, regardless of the license, can activate multi-factor authentication. Conditional access, on the other end, is a feature of Azure AD Premium. and is basically the ability to put more conditions on the login. So my kids are home. So if it's a bad IP, bad country, you can put different conditions and everything, and you can sort of build out a more secure framework around those logins. But basic MFA is one thing, and then conditional access is another set of feature that is attached to Azure AD licenses. Nowadays, most licenses get access to a little bit of it through security defaults. So Microsoft now offer some security defaults that most people can turn on, but they have very little flexibility. So it will help if you fit those conditions. So yeah, somebody just said, do you recommend security defaults? Yes, I do, absolutely. It's better than nothing. The thing that you may run into is that it may not be flexible enough for you. So you're going to turn it on and you'll be like, oh, I want it for this, but I don't want it for that. And you're like, well, I can do it. So it's a little bit of an upsell thing for Microsoft as well, where they'll go, well, we've given you this taste for free, but if you want the whole thing, you have to get Azure AD Premium, like Plan 2 or something. One thing to look into for people, and we've talked about Microsoft and security problem, but like I said, I think their security is great, and I think they're putting more and more in. Look into Microsoft 365 Business Premium. So not the old Business Premium, which was basically just an Office suite, but the new Business Premium, which used to be called Microsoft 365 Business. And that one comes with a fair amount of security features, including conditional access, including some device management as well. And it's a good value. Like there's good value there. There's Windows 10 Pro in it as well. If you want your, I've talked about a lot of lever that you can pull for security for Microsoft 365. If you want a lot of those in a fairly affordable package, Microsoft 365 Business Premium is a very interesting SKU that I would look at. Office Protect is meant to be sort of even cheaper and more accessible. So if you're going to do nothing else, I would say please get Office Protect, even not with the Alliance service. Ideally, get the Alliance service.
It's only $3, guys. Come on.
Yeah. So somebody comment, security defaults are okay, but then having to configure stupid printers that require app passwords to go around security default is a pain. Yeah, that's it. And I've said it, it's convenience versus security always. And convenience, and I say convenience, it sounds because it's easier to sort of convey the image, but it's business goals versus security. Like you have things to do and security will be in your way always. And the question is, how much should it be in your way? If you're a secret research facility that controls the nuclear power of the country, then it should be all the way in your way, and security should be the first thing, and like you should deal with all the hassle of that security. If you're a free service, you don't have any personal information and you're just there to convey information, and you're a nonprofit that doesn't have a budget for anything and can barely like put the content out there, well, get as much as you can. Use the free things from Microsoft 365, like use those, maximize those as much as possible. Maybe get Office Protect, but it has to make sense. Like there are people that sell security don't understand the practical implication of what they're selling. I fear, and I think that's one of the main thing that's holding back security for everybody. Not to pile on Microsoft because everybody does it, but why don't they put every security feature available to everybody? Wouldn't that be better for security? It would. It would absolutely would. I understand why they don't, because there's a value there, but there's also a little bit of a cost. But at some point, like how much should you not provide the best possible security to people? It's a tough question. Sherweb's doing the same thing. We're selling security product. We're not giving them away. Although to be fair, Office Protect available 30 days when you buy Microsoft 365. Get the best practice security setting in place for free. Don't ask anything for that. Completely free. But yeah, it's a tough debate. It's a hard conversation. Okay, I think we've stretched this enough. We totally intend to do more webinars about security. Please get
Absolutely.
involved with Office Protect, Office Protect Alliance. Get involved with your account rep for everything, even marketing and other things. Look at Microsoft 365 Business Premium. I think it's a good idea too. And I think that's it for us today.
I think so. So with that, thank you everybody. This has been great. Really thank you for your patience and your attention. Been great having you with us. Uh, See you on the video in about 48 hours.
Have a great day.
Take care, everyone. Bye bye.